Good afternoon, everyone. We're only here because our governor has talked today, which has caused everyone to rethink about what's going on. So, hey, let me do this. If we'll pray, but few things going on. All of you that are credentialed ministers or on a Assemblies of God ministerial staff, lead pastors, credentialed minister, whatever, you should be on one of our groups, which is the Alabama Assemblies of God ministers and staff members, and the Alabama Assemblies or AG lead pastors. I've posted some stuff out there already since the earlier meeting, just making sure everybody was up. Okay, thanks, Michael. I'm trying to answer that doorbell. Thank you for helping me with that. But we really want to see. We want to get you equipped with this. Now, we sent out. It went out in the mail this week from our office. The new stuff, navigating which navigating to a new reality. It's about a 25-page document that we put out that will give you a ton of information, and a ton of links are in that document. Now, we snail mail that to every church. We also have made that available. It went out in a email that we sent out. If you're on our constant contact email group list, it also was pasted on those two Facebook pages as well. So that being said, you should be able to find it. There's download links for that, which you can get the digital copy and print it, or keep it in digital, every which way you want to do it. But those are available. And I'm telling you, it's I wish that I had invented it all, but there's several people that were a process of inventing. And then I had threw it in a blender and spit it back out and adapted it to fit Alabama. We added a lot of stuff and added a lot of links in there. So that being said, I just want you guys to know that that document is out there for you, and I want to encourage you to get a hold of that and get it in your hands. The other things that are out there are going to be the documents I put out earlier today. One of them looks like this. You're going to see it out there on the site. And the other one is just a part of the law that was put out, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. Hey, let me pray as we kick this off. We'll only stay as long as we need. We got some guys on here that are some great answer guys that if you've got questions, because, you know, we had no idea that we're going to have a press conference today that the governor was going to say on May the 11th, we can have a free-for-all. So with rules, but we're going to talk about that and how that looks and what that means. And let me encourage everybody to mute your devices, or we're going to get a lot of roll around in here. And then when you want to talk, you can unmute at that point. Or maybe, Michael, you've got the power to mute everybody. Thank you, sir, because we're getting a lot of feedback that begins to happen. Hey, thanks for jumping on here with us. And we're gonna walk this through and talk this through and talk about what it looks like and some of the stuff you're going to need to do it. I've asked some guys to be a part of this that I've been talking with and collaborating with for the last little while that will help us with some information and to answer your questions. We want to take whatever time is needed. When all your questions are answered or you think they're all answered, you can always jump off today. We are going to record this and make this available on those Facebook pages so that you can go back and look through this and get this information. Let me pray as we open up. I think all of our district team is on here except for maybe Vent. He had another national camping director's thing that he had to be on at 2:00. So if he gets off, he'll jump on here with us. But anyway, Father, this afternoon, we thank you for the awesome responsibility and opportunity you give us as men and women of God to lead your church. Not our church, but your church. You've called us to be shepherds in the sheepfold, and you've called us to take care of your flock. We remember your word taught us in Peter that we're to love the sheep and we're to feed them, and we're to take care of them and protect them. We're to keep the bears and the wolves away. And we just thank you today that you give us that desire of your heart to do what you've called us to do. Now, Father, give us wisdom this afternoon as we continue to navigate through uncharted waters, and we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, let's jump in here and start. Again, thank you for everyone. I know there's going to be some questions and answers that's going to come along here. And first of all, you probably didn't download it yet, or I don't know, but in the health department's most recent that came out today that becomes effective, item 3 is non-work related gatherings. That's church, okay? Effective May 11, 2020, all non-work related gatherings of any size that cannot maintain a consistent 6-foot distance between persons from different households are prohibited. In other words, if you cannot maintain 6 foot, you can't do it. Yeah, thank you for putting that out there. As you notice here, that's it. And then there's a click in there, a link for you to go to the Alabama Public Health. And if you go out there, that's going to be the other document, the red document is what that is, which is on the Facebook page. But that document will walk you through all the stuff, and I'll talk about that. But it says, yeah, there you go. Guidelines for places of worship. That's a pretty expanded. So again, these 2 documents are out on Facebook in both groups, and I'll probably put those into a constant contact email. If you're not on that, you don't get those, either email me or text me or whatever and give me your email address and we'll put you in there. It says organizers of religious gatherings are strongly encouraged to read and implement the Alabama Department of Public Health's guidelines for places of worship available at, which we've got that out there. I'm not going to go into a lot of that right now, but I want to mention that. So immediately after the 11 o'clock press conference, I started getting texts and calls and emails and so forth, asking the question, can we open the church? The answer, according to the Alabama Department of Public Health, is yes, with stipulations. Now, we're going to walk through this part of it here a little bit. What does that look like and what does that mean? I think it's important because honestly, we've already got people that have said we can't find sanitizer. You can't open a church if you don't have the stuff to carry out the mandate required, the guidelines required. So you've got to get product, you've got to get those kinds of things, and we're gonna do help each other with that. We're gonna do some crowdsourcing here, to where people who have access to this stuff and people who can get this, I think we'll have pegged out to 100, so probably anybody else won't be able to get on, but we are recording this. What we're needing to do is do the crowdsourcing. If you know where to get hand sanitizer, signage, good prices on signage, you're going to need signage. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. You're going to need masks. We're going to talk about that. There's just a lot of stuff here that's needed, and what that looks like and what that means. So the answer to the question is, can we open church back up? May 11, next Monday, according to the governor, you can. My question and my caution is, are you ready to open back up yet? That's the big thing. I know everybody says, I've been ready. I understand. But also know this, the normal we had before we got shut in place is not the normal now. There's a new reality that has hit us. We can't go back and do church like we did. Now you can, but you can also be guilty of arrest. You can also get fined. I mean, I don't know what all that law enforcement will do, but the big thing is here, we stand before God for taking care of his church and his sheep and protecting them from COVID-19 is a part of, I think, our responsibility. So we've got to do our due diligence here. So saying this, and then we're going to open things up. My my caution to you is, after the governor has said this, is make sure you've got all the parts and pieces in place to open your church back up when you open it up, whenever that is. I have talked with some churches. I think somebody's got a mic on. There's a lot of noise. Okay. I've talked to some churches, and here's what I'm hearing from several guys. And you know, just to pass some information from some guys who have been listening to what's going on and understanding the dynamics of it. The several guys I've talked to are not going to open their church up on the first Sunday available. Okay, let's just look at what we got here. If we get open the 11th, you know, you're basically Sunday the 17th. You could have Sunday church. Some guys are not going to open back up till Pentecost Sunday, because that's going to give them time to get things ready. We'll talk about that a little bit, because just because we open it up doesn't mean it's safe. You know, once a kid gets a driver's license, doesn't mean they're ready to go in a car by themselves, if you know what I'm talking about. So what we need to do is talk about what this looks like. And you know, I'm gonna Brother Sharp, are you on here yet? I know we were on another one.
Yes.
I want you to go ahead and address some of this with me. Please, guys, go out and download that stuff. Please get that document, that 25-page document. It's going to give you a lot of information on getting ready to open back up and phasing in to the new reality. Brother Sharp, what's your take on what's going on here?
Well, the current reality is in place until Monday. And so the new orders do not affect this coming Sunday, the day after tomorrow. Beyond that, it's important to go, number one, and download the governor's directive and the health director's directive. It's posted. You can get it. Brother Ken has posted it. And within that, it's important to download the link to the church-specific page. Brother Ken has posted that. They're both on the Facebook page of the district, and
they're in the comments as well.
Chat as well. And so, very important to read that. And when you do, you'll see that this new directive still keeps social distancing in place, and that means while people who live in the same household can sit together, we're not supposed to sit within 6 feet of anyone else, nor be standing or fellowshipping within 6 feet of anyone else. And there should be at least one empty row, pew or empty row of chairs between congregants as well. And so, you know, that affects every class, every sanctuary, every platform, and so forth. In addition, all of the normal sanitizing is supposed to be in effect. Everything that has been in effect thus far as disinfecting, is supposed to be in effect. That includes, according to the document specifically, disinfecting seats between use. In other words, if you run 150 in morning worship, and your sanctuary is only going to let you get 30 in at a time, 30 or 40 with proper social distancing, you're supposed to disinfect those seats between the multiple services that you would be required to have. And so all of the other guidelines remain in effect. And so it's best to just access the governor's directive from today and the church-specific page from today. And then I think Brother Ken is going to talk about the new reality document that we snail-mailed, Brother Ken snail-mailed out a couple of days ago. So number one, that's the status. And accessing the document that Brother Ken mailed out, the new reality guidelines, will help you prepare well in advance for facilitating services under these circumstances. Also in the governor's guidelines and the church-specific page, there's direction regarding water fountains, passing of communion plates, passing of offering, and other items. Food buffets are covered in that. You'll see that individuals are not supposed to go down food buffets, but someone is supposed to serve them. All kinds of little details are in there. So it's very important to access that if you intend to comply, which according to Scripture, the district council and general council were supposed to do.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have am I on here?
You're on.
Okay, my computer has got a hiccup. Let me get myself back into this
Okay.
thing.
We see you and we hear you clearly.
Okay, well, listen. Okay, I'm going to go out. Michael, continue. I'm going to be right back in. I've got a computer problem. I'm sorry.
Okay, you want me, this Michael, or?
Yeah. You go ahead and continue. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, I had.
Wait a minute. I may can't get back in.
I think I've covered everything. Just again, the document, the church-specific document, gives a lot of good guidelines. Anything not covered in that is going to be covered in the governor's directive or in previous directives. All of the protocols are still in effect: social distancing, disinfecting, hand sanitizers or wipes and sprays, that kind of thing. And as well as distancing for those who desire to be masked. It's a good idea to be masked. It's recommended that everybody be masked, but we know that some people do not wish to comply with that. That is the recommendation. On the platforms, no one should be sharing music or instruments or microphones or microphone stands or keyboards or instruments of any kind. And they're supposed to be socially distanced. And so all of the things that have been asked of us before are still in place. The only thing that's changed really is that there's no limit on the number of people. So if you have an arena the size of a Coliseum, you might be able to get 500 people in there 6 feet apart. So it's just the social distancing is the issue, as well as all the sanitation and disinfecting. Are you there, Brother Ken?
Yeah, let me encourage you also. I had a pastor text me today. Let me encourage you guys to check with your insurance company, because this pastor checked with this insurance company and they cover no communicable diseases. So you may want to make sure where you're at on insurance. That could be serious, because that's what we're dealing with. And if your insurance company is going to leave you in a lurch there, then you need to jump on something else. And I know that Church Mutual, our carrier, will write policies right now. They, even in the middle of this, they're writing policies. And not that we're trying to sell them, but I'm just saying, I know, someone told me, said, another guy called me, said, I've got Church Mutual. I said, well, you've got a Cadillac, and it costs sometimes like a Cadillac. It's not as cheap. You can go buy real cheap insurance, but you get what you pay for a lot of times. And you only learn in a time like this what that does for you. Okay, let's just open this thing up. I've got some guys on here that have been prepping to go back into their building. And has someone who's been prepping that are ready to go back into their building? You have already covered these. Jason Allums, I know that you should be on here somewhere. We got so many people, I can't see them all.
I'm here.
But Jason, you want to talk about how you guys have prepped your place for this, and what and when and where?
Yes, sir. We're ready. So we will open up the first weekend that they allow us to. So we'll do 4 services. We'll start on May the 16th at 6 p.m. and then do 3 services on Sunday, May the 17th. We'll do everything that Brother Mike just shared and everything that the governor laid out today, including the thermometers, test, making sure everybody, doesn't have a fever. We'll offer masks out up under the foyer. We'll also offer gloves if they want to wear it, and we'll have hand sanitizer out front. We also will be paying somebody to be cleaning during the service, not just after, but during the service. So once people walk in, they'll go behind and start cleaning everything at that time as well. We will not do, the shake your neighbor's hand, give them a high five and all that stuff. We will not do the offering plate like normal. Again, I'm not going to repeat everything. I'm just going to do everything that has been said. We are going to redesign our room a little bit, add a couple extra aisles, take some chairs out. Now, as far as the kids, that's something that we've all that we've struggled with the most. Initially, we're not going to do children's church, but we are going to try to do nursery. But we're going to put one room with one or two teachers, ever how many we need per service. We will not reuse the same room for nursery. So that does mean we had to go buy extra beds, extra stuff for a nursery, but that gives us all week to be able to clean that before the next service starts. And we won't do Sunday school. We will not do Wednesday night to start with until we can figure it out later. But we're ready to go with what I just said.
Let me ask you this, Pastor. How are you enforcing the social distancing? Are you using banners in your parking lot as they come in? And then how are you handling the crowd? I mean, how do you keep social distancing on your on your ingress and egress when they come in, when they go out? What are you doing to handle those?
Yeah, some of it is still going to be challenging, and I'll reserve the right to kind of figure it out as we go along. Though we will do the very best that we can. So yes, we will hang information about the COVID-19, about social distancing everywhere we can. A lot of it will be done on social media as well, pushing it. We'll do Facebook events. We'll have people sign up for which service they're going to come to. And then as it begins to fill up, or by text or phone call, we'll get a feel for how many people's coming, because we've done this before in various events and having to limit the amount of people that shows up. So we know how to do that. But once we feel like it is filling up, then we will, tell people this service is full. We do have the ability to live stream it at other parts of the church. So if something was to happen and we filled up too much, we could send somebody in a different room for social distancing as well. As far as egress and regress, what I'll probably do is just when we start to dismiss the back rows first and let them go, and then slowly go out. Very similar if you've ever been to a funeral. Sometimes they do it, from the front to the back, something kind of like that, except I do it backwards from the back to the front, and get people in and out like that.
Now let me ask you a question, and I'm not the resident guru on all this information. We can crowdsource here. When you say thermometers, are you checking everybody coming in, or are you just talking about your volunteer staff?
The volunteers, all the worship team, all the staff, everybody. If with the kids ministry, I'm doing all those guys, mainly the nursery right now, and the kids. I'm going to do the kids also. And
that is required.
Yes.
Workers and volunteers, you're required to scan that for any temperature, and even the protocol of questions. Have you been around anybody infected? Have you shown any symptoms? I mean, we have to live on honesty here and what people say, but
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a lot of that on Facebook. I'm going to interview everybody on Facebook at one time, and just to kind of reinforce everything, and maybe even make a joke about it. Interview my wife to see, make sure
you're going to do more of a volunteer workers Facebook interview and kind of give them that's good.
The whole thing. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Layer it. Everything, the way I look at it, everything is layered in terms of this information. The more I can say, the more I can communicate, I will do that.
Right. That's excellent right there. Anybody else? Fred Franks, are you still on here? I thought I saw you jump in here. Pastor Fred? Maybe he got back off. Okay. What about some others? Are some other guys up to this point? You've got all your stuff in place and you're ready for this. Tell us how you've done this. And also signage, I would recommend, we've been talking about this for weeks, to order signs and something for the people coming in so that they know you are enforcing the Board of Health protocol for social distancing. And, you just kind of letting everybody know ahead of time as they're coming in. And again, do not be afraid or ashamed. If you need to use me as an excuse, tell your team, hey, you know what that crazy superintendent said? He said we might ought to wait to Pentecost Sunday. But if you're not ready, man, don't pull the trigger until you're ready. You do not want to pull the trigger till you've got all the protocols in place. And, I'm saying this as being recorded. I'm saying to you on this thing, you do not want to pull the trigger and have a service just to get back in the building unless you can do it in a way that you're going to protect your people and you're going to take care of them and you're going to do your due diligence to follow the law and what it says. So somebody else here that's got some things in place you want to share with us.
Brother Ken?
Yes.
This is Chuck Morris in Evergreen. We've ordered air purifiers for our buildings as well to remove contaminants and allergens from the air. Gives people a little more confidence that we're doing what we can to provide a safe environment.
Well, Chuck, that's good because here's part of it. Your people, you need to make a statement to your people. We are ready for you to come back in the building. And we have done our due diligence. We have done what the Board of Health has recommended, and we went beyond that. We've got air purifiers in our building. We've got this, we've got that. I had to go to an appointment follow-up for an annual, and they called me and they said, when you get here, if you don't have gloves and masks, we will give them to you. I'm not saying, and this doesn't say that you've got to do that, but I'm telling you, you want to give your people confidence because you may open the doors and think you're going to have a crowd. There's going to be people taking pause right now. And Jason, you've done a thorough job of that. And I know you have. We've been talking about this for a while, but I appreciate that. But that's a good one, Chuck. Anybody else, what have you done in prepping? Hey, Adam, you want to jump in here and share something? I saw you're putting it out there, but you're welcome to unmute and talk about that.
Yeah, so I also work for the city of Alabaster. I work at their library, and one of the things that we've been going through all the training with the fire department and health department in Alabaster. And one of the things that they are doing in their public spaces is the night before they are using these ozone generator purifiers, and they just set them in the location and let them run. And I don't really know anything about purifiers and the differences, but apparently that's what our fire department and health official is recommending. And they also kind of recommend, and I don't know if anybody's ever worked in the food business before, but essentially if you have, they kind of say treat things and treat people almost like raw meat. The way if somebody being a raw meat is a contaminant, make sure you are treating every person and everything you touch with that same thought process. But yeah, that's just a little thought. So I put a link to one of the purifiers from Amazon there in the chat.
Right, that's good. Mac, I know you've got a new building y'all haven't been in yet. How are you? It should be pretty clean anyway since it's a brand new building. How are you guys prepping?
It is. What we've actually done is we've got someone that is coming in to actually do a deep clean and inspect our building. We had received some stuff from Dade Paper right up the road that is COVID-19 approved for disinfectant spray and stuff that we can use to put in spray bottles and things to clean down everything after services and that. Right now we're working on trying to get more hand sanitizer. We've got a few things, but those seem to be impossible. That's why I was asking earlier about that kind of stuff. It's been very difficult to get that. Our church people have been pushing us to want to go back, even with the Haas-Mac, our sheriff here in Baldwin County, saying that he wasn't going to enforce anything on them. But our plan is to try to open up on the 31st. Even as news today, we still are waiting to the 31st to just ensure that we have everything. We're trying to get some signs made up now with our local sign place to have all that in order. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. We had some momentum, was excited about it, and it's going to be a little different because we've got to figure out how many people we can allow in, which will probably force us to do multiple services at this time.
Right. Well, you can tell people we just built a building. We're in multiple services already. So, that can be a bragging point right now. Hey, Johnny, you and I have been talking. Johnny Hunt, what have you guys done to prep and get this thing ready at your church?
So a lot of stuff that a lot of the guys have already mentioned, so it won't be repetitive, but the hand sanitizer stations from Easy Haul that we have here, you can rent those monthly. And I gave that contact last time. A lot of the deep
Right.
cleaning things are going to be easy. If we need to add services, we'll add services. But right now, I would anticipate maybe 50% of the church showing up anyway. Even as you go back in, your young families, we won't have CK or nursery or children's ministry or nursery the very first Sunday. We'll stage that back in as we go. And when we do, we'll mask and glove our workers and do all that stuff that needs to be done. So, but we're set to open on the 17th.
That's Celebration in Fairhope, and I like that you're phasing back in ministries. So that may be wisdom on our part, to have the mass gathering and phase back in. Some guys are talking about having like a kids mini message with handouts to go home with. A lot of different things are being spoke of, and anybody else that's got some stuff prepped that, and I think we gave that info for that standalone sanitizing kits last time. Is anybody having a problem finding sanitizer? Martha? Well, if anybody knows places, hey, please stick it in the chat. Make sure you save that chat. And we'll get Michael to save that chat also so we can put it out there and let everybody find that. But, yeah, and it's all went up. Naturally, it's went up. We understand that. But, okay, let's open this up. And we got some guys on that I've asked to be on here that can answer some questions. But let's just open up. Anybody got any particular questions you need to ask? And let me say this again. If I were a lead pastor right now, I would really, really talk to my leadership about making sure we can tick off all the boxes. As a matter of fact, that document I sent you has got a checkoff list on the last page, I believe, or near the last page. You may want to look at that. So you may, you may want to look at a phase in to get back in there. And man, what better time than Pentecost Sunday to fire it back off? I know some are ready to do it before that. And for all I know, there may be some been doing it the whole time. I just didn't know it. And, probably don't want to know it right now. But anyway, any questions? Anybody got a question to jump in here with? Just unmute and jump in. No questions? Okay. I'm a little surprised there are no questions.
Hey, I have one, Pastor Ken.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just was curious, is anybody looking at doing, those who are maybe 65 or older, is anybody doing a separate service for just that age in addition? I know, and what we would do right now lean toward is just ask those to continue to be ministered to online through our online services. But I've heard some maybe looking at doing a separate service for that age group or those who are susceptible to sickness.
Brother Ken, just to Pastor Aaron's point, we were talking today in staff that's what we're looking at doing. We are considering asking our seniors, maybe 65 and older, to come to an earlier service. We're probably not going to go as far as asking them to stay home, although probably some of them will, but we're considering asking our seniors to come to an earlier service, and those say under 65 or so to come to a second service. So we are looking at that.
Hey, Michael, can you throw up a poll? I know I'm hitting you in the midstream. Can we throw up a poll as how many are planning on opening the 17th, which is the first Sunday available? How many are planning on the 24th and how many on the 31st? Let's just throw that out there, and so we can get a little feel of those that are watching. And we will not report who says what. We'll just get the numbers. How's that sound, guys? Would you guys like to see a poll for that? Okay. You guys are really easy to get along with here. You're just not even talking to me about anything.
Maybe
Okay.
one that also the churches that are planning on not opening until, further on down the road.
Beyond the end of May?
Correct.
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe the fourth one is later than any of those. Yeah.
Hey, Pastor Ken, this
Yes.
is Jason Parnell. Hey, just to address the 65 and older for a second, we had put together our deacon board several weeks ago, with a 3-phase reentry into service. And we already do a Wednesday morning service. Of course, that's not been going on currently for our 65 and up, or for our what we call season life. So we're going to do 2 services on Sunday mornings, and then ask for our seniors to specifically come to that Wednesday AM service, which they had been accustomed to coming to anyway. And so that's kind of how we're addressing that. We had sent out a poll already, and got our individuals as to what service they were going to come to at 9 o'clock or 10:45, and all of those things already set in place so that we can reopen. And then we're asking our seniors to come to that 10:30 Wednesday service. So might be an idea for somebody who hasn't done that. We've been doing it for 2 years, and it works real well for our seniors. They really like it.
Great. And you know, that may be some wisdom to have some alternative opportunities for these guys to do this. You're going to have that. We're going to put that poll up in a minute. Any other questions or insights from anybody? I mean, here's the bottom line. Go out and check the law, the rule that they've given us to operate by. Somebody said to me recently, said, well, our county sheriff said he's not going to arrest us if we don't enforce the law. Well, there's a difference between carrying out the law and enforcing the law. We've got to do what the law says. We've got to follow the scriptural principle here and do what the law says. And it's important that we do that extremely. Any others? Michael Sharp, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and agree with everyone who is talking about a separate service for the seniors. When you look at the church-specific guidelines from the state, you'll see they recommend encouraging seniors to continue to worship remotely. Some may want to do that. Some will not want to do that. But a separate service is really, honestly, the best idea. If you cannot do that, you will see in the guidelines that we're supposed to have a separate section for any vulnerable or at-risk people, including seniors. So that's something always to consider. And I do think a separate service is a great idea if you can do that.
Right. Yeah, it's extremely important to see that. And I think you guys help me. I'm trying to keep my hand on the pulse, but I think of those who have died in Alabama, it's like 78% of those have been 65 or older. So the senior adults are the ones that are more vulnerable to die. So, you know, that's why we want to definitely take care of them. Have we got that poll ready yet, Michael? Okay, go ahead and put it up here, and we'll take about a minute to do this poll. You'll see it pop up here. Maybe.
Pastor Ken, it's already been up one time when some of us already voted.
I never saw it. I'm sorry. Did we put it up and finish it? I never saw the poll go up.
My screen says the poll is still in progress. So there may still.
I don't even see it.
Pastor Ken, when you're a host and a co-host, you won't see the poll per se if I launch it. If you launch it, I won't see it. But it's been up for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
68% voted. So I'm waiting on the final people to vote real quick.
We're going to give y'all what? We're giving about another 30 seconds then, maybe? See, Michael's educating. That's why we've got a U.S. missionary doing church and technology.
Brother Ken, I was going to ask, we've reset our sanctuary and it greatly reduced our capacity. I wanted to see if any of the other pastors, are they having their people sign up for a specific service so they'll know exactly how many plan to come? And if so, how are they going about doing that?
I'm planning to do that, and the vast majority of our people are active on our Facebook group. So I'm going to take registration, try to do it through our Facebook group initially. And if that doesn't get good participation, I'll do it through our website and send out an email blast and ask them to go to our website to do it. But we're very tight on space. So I'm not even sure yet if we're going to have to do 2 services or 3. So I've got to get a good handle on when people want to come.
Hey, let me ask this question of you guys, because I've thought about it, and I've thought about how I might try to do it if I were doing it. But, you know, coming in, are you in any way creating spaces where they don't bottle up at the door coming in to again, keep that social distancing? And then as they leave, are you letting them leave by rows? Like, you know, you kind of reminds you of a funeral where a row leaves and another row leaves and another row leaves to get everybody out of the building. And then the other question, we've got to learn how to do altar call differently. You know, I just, you know, when you call people to the altar and they got to be 6 foot apart at least. And so the preacher's got to put his hands out, and then he's got to back up and make sure that his hands are 6 foot away from them. I'm not, you know, man, I'm just praying for you guys. It is a new world to do ministry in. So what are y'all doing on those?
We're going to ask people to drive into our parking lot and wait in their cars until 15 minutes before the next service. And then we'll have someone to go out and to bring them in 1 car at a time. We're going to have a separate exit. It'll be different than the entrance. We can take them out a side door that will lead back into the parking lot. And we will probably, as you suggest, let them go 1 row at a time, starting at the back row, going from the back row to the front. Now we're trying to have our services where we have 45 minutes between the services. We'll have a 9 o'clock service and a 10:45 service. That will allow us to have an hour service and have 45 minutes in between services to clean, disinfect, and then as far as altar calls, we're not going to do any of that for the time being. If they need prayer, we're just going to ask them to lay hands on themselves and pray for God to heal whatever they need in their body.
You kind of have to do it like that TV preacher does. Take your hand and lay it on where you're hurting, and
exactly.
pray for you and believe God to touch you. You know, this won't go on forever, but that's some good stuff. Let me give you the survey that we just took here and the results. Those that are planning on opening their church, 42% on this group said they were going to do it on May 17th. 24% said May 24, 18 May 31, 8% June 7, and 8% later than June 7. So what we have is 42 are going to open it the first week, and 58 are going to open it the second week or later. Okay, just to give you a heads up. And yeah, that help you understand that? So 42%, roughly 2 out of 5 churches will open the first Sunday. And then another 1 out of 4 beyond that will open the next Sunday. And then 1 out of 5 the next Sunday. So what we're looking at here is 42, then 24, then 18, then 8 and 8.
Hey, Ken,
Yes.
we're going to use 2 service format, not have Sunday school. It's going to be 9 to 10 and 11 to 12. Our security team is going to double as a monitoring team. Their job is going to be a little different, and that is going to be how people come in, make sure families, when we do our second service is going to be family church. It's going to be designed strictly for families. The early service could be your older congregation, couples, or couples that have teens. We're really designing that second service for families with small children. We're going to incorporate some children music. Our children's pastor is going to have a small part, some kind of devotional. It's going to be fast moving because we're really trying to make it family friendly. But we're using our security team. I've already talked to our team, and they're going to be monitoring the 6 foot difference in letting people file through our coffee bar area, which is a wide area. And we're just making sure their families are 6 feet apart, and we'll dismiss them the same way. So I hope we don't have a problem.
Hey, let me ask you there, Charles. You guys aren't doing coffee though, right?
we got some people who want it, but we really haven't figured out the transfer of cups to people where they feel good about it. But if we do, whoever's at the coffee bar that's going to be serving is going to be just like Starbucks. They're going to have a mask on and rubber gloves, and we're going to let them take it into the service. We're going to kind of, we're going to let them bring snacks for the kids, coloring books for the kids. I told someone it's kind of like a throwback to when I was growing up. There was no nursery and there was no children's church. And if a parent had a problem with a child, they just had a little come to Jesus meeting outside the building and come back in and keep on going. So it's going to be kind of like the old-fashioned days.
Well, let me ask y'all this question here. What are you doing for offerings? Because again, pass the bucket doesn't work so much in there. Are you going to be using a square? Are you going to be using a what are you guys doing? How are you doing? I know we do text to give and online giving. A lot of us are already doing that, but what are you looking at? Somebody share.
We have some drop boxes that we're going to put out in the back of the sanctuary and in the foyer, so people can just give their offerings as they're leaving.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, Pastor Ken, as people exit, we'll have, like we've done the first few weeks there before all this went into order, just hold the offering bags, so as people leave, they can place it in the bag.
Okay. All right. Questions, guys? Any other insight here? Because, I'm again, egress, ingress, I look at that. How are we going to handle that in the building? You got to have some time, because if you read the stuff, you got to have some time to do some sanitizing between services. I mean, you've got to come back in and clean those surfaces. You've got to do all those things to clean. You can't just let them out and let another group in. You've got to do work in between the groups as they go and come. So, just understand that that's important, and you've got to have that. So, Brother Sharp, you're just going to have to start unmuting, because I don't even see you on my thing. You got your hand up?
I'm unmuted and I had my hand up, but thank you. I was going to piggyback on what Charles said, and Eric Danner had mentioned in the chat box earlier to consider implementing some aspects of your children's ministry in that main service that you have in the sanctuary, since the children are going to be with their parents. I think that's a great idea. I know that my church is going to do that. And one of the old fashioned things was to have, a 5 to 10 minute window that was focused specifically on the kids, maybe the morning sermon at their level. So there's lots of different things to do. And of course, now many of us have children's ministers who can assist in that. So I wanted to mention that. I saw Eric put that up there a bit earlier.
Which is a good way. If you're not going to have a kids' church, it wouldn't hurt to work it in. And we've talked about this on earlier Zooms, on our weekly Zooms, to have maybe a kid sermonette, just a 5 to 7 minute sermonette for a kid with a handout, so the parents could take the handout or the digital handout and take it home and reinforce that discipleship lesson at home, rather than do the whole thing there. And the kids feel in part. And some have said in the past, why not throw a song in there somewhere in the worship thing?
Right. Those are great ideas. And you could integrate it very well, correlate it with what you're doing online for the parents. And some churches may be doing that. Ours is. And it really makes the children feel a part. And it gets the parents involved with the children as well. So.
Yeah, I think Martha had put in that it might not be an idea, if you would designate a certain door in your building for a 65-year-old or a senior citizen entryway, so that they don't get mixed with everybody else and they can come through a more safe zone, I guess you could call it. Is anybody, Jason, you doing that?
No, sir, not specifically. We are going to try to bring them in, or let them out row by row. But I do have a question as far as what is people doing? What are you guys doing on Wednesday nights in terms of youth ministry, your ministries, adult ministries, kids ministries? Are y'all just not going to have it for a while? Is that the consensus, or is anybody trying to brainstorm to have it in, say, like 3 weeks or so. I would love to hear anybody's ideas.
Anyone on that? Because those are going to be the hardest groups to control with social distancing.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
I know one thing. I don't know if Pastor got on this or not, but I did let him know about it. But I know one thing. First of all, Jason's question. I know that what our youth pastor has been doing, which of course we've all been using social media, but he's doing a really great youth service on Wednesdays. And he's probably going to continue to do that. Pastor's not here. I can't speak for him, but
hey, he's here unless he was George.
Oh,
well, he was. I don't know if he's still here or not. George, if
So
you're on
that's-
here,
He's
Yeah,
on
so
here,
that's
but he's
what-
muted. I'm not sure if he's here or not, but he's still here.
so that's what we're.
hey, is he
yeah.
like that police car that's empty? It's just looking like it's there to catch you.
Yeah. But another thing I was going to ask because of, meetings that we're having, and I don't want to speak out of turn in front of him, of course, but just as I'm listening to everybody, obviously the distancing is probably the major thing that we need to be looking at. One thing that we talked about it in Monday staff, is say, for instance, okay, is 6 feet from me to you, or is it 6 feet radius?
Radius.
Okay, so if you do a 6 foot radius in your church, say for instance, you start in your first row and you place something there, a card, that's a person. Then you go 6 foot radius, that's another person. Okay, so that's probably going to cut your people that's coming in by half. One thing we were talking about is like, say you do your first service, well, who gets to come in and who doesn't, because you have that 6 foot radius.
Well,
Just the thought,
some people are using online registration for services where people are actually registering for the service they want to come to. They give multiple choices. Some are using Saturday as a senior adult service because it just isolates them from everybody by bringing them in on a Saturday afternoon or whatever. As Jason said, you could throw it in on a Wednesday even. I don't want to keep you guys on forever. Let me say this, because I know we got some people going to be jumping off here. Mainly, remember this. Number one, we have got to practice social distancing. 6 foot. It's not 6 foot from the person in front of you. It's 6 foot from anybody. That's a 24 square foot area. Okay. So, you're looking at a 24 square. You can take your building and realize the normal seat probably handles what, 18 square feet? I'm not sure quite, I haven't built a church in a while, so I'm not sure. You remember, Mac, what they were figuring on, how they were figuring square foot per person when you were building?
I think it was, they had figured in the seating room when I looked at just our life safety plan, I think it was 7 square feet per person, but that wasn't with, this kind of stuff in place.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you figure that, then we're looking at about 25 to 30% capacity that you could get into a building. And those of you that have got pews, you've got to figure out another way to distance them. I don't know if you're going to have an usher with a 6 foot ruler. I'm not sure how you're going to do this. The enforcement of this thing is going to get people mad. We know how people are, and we know how church people are. They're going to step across that aisle and hug somebody. And what are you going to do? Write them up? I mean, this is not going to be an easy thing for us to do. But remember, social distancing is important. Number 2, follow that red sheet, that one from the Alabama Department of Health. Follow that. Your volunteers have got to be screened. They've got to be checked coming in. Somebody asked the question, should we get ministers and staff, should they get tested to see if they're positive? I don't know if they'll test you for that reason. You have to have a criteria to be tested. There may be some new stuff I don't know about yet. But we've just got to remember the rules here. And the other stuff is getting product. Again, we're going to crowdsource. We're going to get this stuff. It's down into the chat area. Michael will say that. We'll put it out on the Facebook pages. If you're not on those, make sure you let me know so we can get you on those. And by the way, pastors, if you're inviting your staff, remember only lead pastors get on the lead pastor page. It's different from the other one. If you've got a guy that's got credentials or a non-credentialed staff, we can put them on the other one. But the lead pastors, because sometimes we cover content only germane to a lead pastor. So most of the time they just mirror what's on there, but occasionally it changes a little bit. Go ahead, Brother Sharp.
Yeah, before we jump off, we've been speaking with some of the attorneys that we use, and one of them told me this week his office is getting calls regularly from law firms, and this is what attorneys do. They go out and they try to recruit firms in an area, a state and region, and they're offering finder's fees if these attorneys can put them in contact with anyone that has been seriously ill with COVID-19, or if they took it home to Meemaw and she died, because they're building lawsuits. They're building it out. Soon you'll be seeing advertisements for that. And they're saying, whether they got it at a business, a church, a religious event, a concert, or whatever. And so just know that that is out there. It's very important to be able to show that you practiced everything in good faith. You did your best to follow the guidelines, even if some of your people got a little excited at church and did not adhere to the rules, that you did your best to do that. Once in a while, someone will decline a settlement from an insurance company and say, I'm going to take it to court anyway, because Meemaw died and I can file in my county and everybody knew Meemaw there. And so, it's just, if we can show good faith that we complied with things, then we should be in good shape. But they're out there beating the bushes. They've got their suits written up. They're just filling in the names of plaintiffs and defendants as they can recruit them.
Let me, and we'll see if there's another question, but let me just again give you a cautionary note. You must follow the law. You've got to follow the law. That's just it. So what I'm saying to you is make sure you look at these things, study them, and prep. Don't take shortcuts. And honestly, this thing came quicker than we thought. We didn't think we'd even hear from her until next week. And I thought then it was going to be, okay, we're going to go up to 25 people or maybe 50 people. But I think the economy is driving this and everything is changing. But let me encourage you guys to start when you've got all parts and places in place. Don't start just because everybody says, let's start. You need to tell your people, and if they ask, why can't we? Why don't we have it? Say, well, we need some money. Send me an offering and we can buy that stuff. Because I'm telling you, you've got to be able to get the product. And it's going to cost you more to have church now than it has cost you to have church, because we've got to put all the safety protocols in place. But hey, we can do this. We can do this. But let me just caution you, make sure all things are ready. And I hear the feel of the room. We're looking at 42% said, yeah, I'm ready to go. And another 28 says, I'll be ready the next time. Then another 18 or whatever. But just make sure you've got all your stuff ready when you pull the trigger. Any questions, anybody, or any insight on this? Yes, go ahead, Martha. Unmute yourself. Where'd she go? Martha?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
We have everything. All of our chairs are fabric. All of our pews are fabric. How many days have to go by before services, before those fabric chairs and pews can be used again? Or do we need to find some kind of spray and spray everything down after every service?
Somebody had told me, it might have been Johnny told me, or someone told me that, I don't know, it was there something you can spray on and within so many minutes it's dry.
Yeah, I'll send you the Pastor Ken, I'll send you the contact. I actually got over on the other line just a minute ago to make sure that was right. And he sells it's $20 a jug, gallon jug. You dilute it down and you spray it. You would do a one direction wipe on hard surfaces. So I'll get you the details. I'll send that out. I'm sorry, I'm in the truck, so I don't have it where I can just access it and send it right now. But I did confirm with him, that was the case. So I can make that available, and he can sell that, to anyone.
Hey, yeah, that's great, Johnny. If you'll send it to me, I'll get it out on Facebook. Hey, guys, several of you have made mention that you have had meetings and you've created policies or plans. Let me ask you, as your pastor, a favor. Would you send a copy of that so I could put that available on our Facebook so our other guys can look at those and maybe use those as templates for their church? How many of you guys have got plans in place, okay, that you've created? Would you email those to me? Do it in a PDF if you can. If you don't, I can change it to a PDF. But do it and, send them to me, and we'll put them up on the Facebook pages to let everybody get access to some of the plans some of you already worked through. Because, hey, that's called crowdsourcing. That's also called the brotherhood and the sisterhood. So if you do that, David Edwards, did you have your hand up?
No, I was just agreeing. I will send you our policy.
Okay, great. All of you guys that have something, we're not going to use it in a court of law and come back and say, we tried this and it failed us. No, I'll take your name off of it if you want me to. But just, to help these guys who need to get up to speed, that are not up to speed, if you will send me copies of those policies or plans that you have put in place, and they can take them and adapt them and make them fit, use them for a template for their churches. That'd be a blessing. I mean, that would really be a blessing. Any other questions or any insight before we close this time out?
Pastor Ken, yeah, I'd like that we can share ours with you guys, definitely. Pastor Aaron here from Lomax. Definitely have to give some props to my associate pastor here. We were talking through and hashing out some things about how we come back in this phase 1, 2, and 3. And I love something he had brought attention to. And after the fall and captivity of Babylon, the temple was destroyed, and articles, gold and silver had been stolen. And basically taking that idea, paralleling to a spiritual template there. Our 3 phases: restore is phase 1, phase 2 is rebuild, and then phase 3 is rejoice. And phase 3 is the new normal is here. And that basically is whenever that time is, and we can come back to worshiping and having church as used to be. But the first phase, as we're entering in, that's what we've been talking about. During this phase, there'll be no nurseries or kids-on services. Everybody be in the sanctuary together. Seating will be configured in different ways. Registration for the online service to be able to come back. Limited space and different things. Anyway, in that's restore. Refocus on the restoration of the on-campus service within the sanctuary. And then phase 2, rebuild. Focus on the additional and support infrastructure during the campus. So basically talked about rebuilding the wall. Phase 2 had some safety. We came back and could do church a little more like normal. But also we'll be preaching. We'll be sharing spiritually in that time that, hey, we're restoring our lives. And then we're rebuilding. And then that rejoice will be, it'll be great.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, send that to me. And actually, you guys don't even have to send it. If you want to go and put it on Facebook, those pages, you can, or if you want to send it to me and then I'll plug it in out there and get it out there. Whatever, we'll make that work. And that's good stuff there. I appreciate that very much. Any questions? Anybody with any questions?
Yeah, Pastor Ken. Hey, this
Yeah.
is Gary. Hey, how about having services in multiple parts of the same building? Is that going to be permissible? I mean, like simulcasting in your gym versus your sanctuary?
Yeah, as long as you follow the rules.
Yeah, but do the rules say the whole building can only, well, I guess if it's unlimited people, right? As long as they're
it's unlimited.
Gotcha.
Unlimited as long as you fit it into the criteria of social distancing,
Right.
and all the protocols for your staff, your volunteers, and all of that. And then you've got to practice that from the parking lot into the sanctuary and back to the parking lot, social distancing and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I still had the 50 limit in my mind, but I realized.
Well, hey, yeah, I know. We're all trying to catch up with where we're at. I was shocked that we just pulled the wrapper off today, just about.
Right. Well, I
Any
appreciate
other questions or insight before we jump out of here? Hey, let me thank you again, Michael Harris, for helping me here. And I appreciate it. I don't know if we got any other missionaries on here. Yeah, there's Ben. And, if I see you on the screen, I know you're here. But thank you so much, guys. And, hey, shortly, you missionaries can get back into pulpits again. How about that? I just think that might be a God thing. Let's open this thing up with missionaries. But I know, I hear y'all out there. Even though you're muted, I can hear your grunts. But let me encourage you. Hey, guys, thank you. nothing else here. I think we've got it. Let me just finish with this. Stay on the rules. Follow those. Download that document I sent you, or open it when it comes in the mail. And let's just put these things together. And those guys are going to be sending stuff in. We appreciate it already. Thank all of you. Thank you for, man, you've just been champions and heroes during these so many weeks we've had here. You know, what's it been, about 7 weeks at least or more for some? Feels like it's been 6 months. But we're just going to pray that God gives you wisdom and favor. And again, no shortcuts, guys. Do it by the rules. If you do it by the rules, you win. Blessings on you. Thank you so much. We'll see you down the road. We'll be back together next Tuesday at 2 if you can make it. I hope you can.